Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Good Effort Meg. Today, I wanted to show y'all how to make some custom size storage bins. So the TV stand that Anthony and I have has some unusual measurements to it. So I've never been able to find like bins or anything to store like movies or DVDs or games or controllers or anything like that into because either they were too big or they weren't big enough. There was like no in between. So I decided to use the skills that I have to come up with some pretty basic bins that I'm hoping if you yourself have a piece of furniture or a need for some custom sized bins and you just can't find something in the store that'll work for you, I'm hoping that this video will show you how easy it is. And I didn't spend any money on this, so hopefully that will encourage you to give it a try as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So here is our TV stand before any of the bins were made. So as you can see, we have a lot of gadgets and games, and they're all kind of just sprawled all over the place, which is definitely not how I like it. So this is the problem that we are going to try to solve today. So this is the design that I came up with. So the black lines are my desired end dimensions. The red is my seam allowance, and the purple is just the measurements that I would cut if I just wanted to cut out a rectangle, and the green being the corners. And at the bottom, highlighted in purple, you can see the dimensions of my TV stand. So for your custom bin that you would want to make, just determine what your desired dimensions are. And for the outer piece of fabric that you'll see, just have that measured out with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and the lining piece is going to have an 1/8 inch larger seam allowance. So in my case, I had the lining measure out with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now for the pattern that will actually draw and cut out, I am only doing that according to the outer fabric measurements. So it's going to be my desired dimensions plus a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. And that will be the piece that we'll use to cut out both the lining and outer pieces. You're gonna need some interfacing. I would probably pick something sturdier than what I used. You're gonna want some fabric. This is the fabric that you will see on the outside. And then, of course, you're gonna want a lining fabric. Now the interfacing and fabric that you're gonna see in this video is stuff that was scrap that I already had on hand. You're gonna need a tape measure to measure your dimensions, 2 different pair of scissors, a fabric pair and a pair to cut out some paper if you wanna make a pattern like I did, and a pen to draw that pattern out. So now I am taking the design that I drew up on my iPad and I am transferring it to this craft paper. So again, this is going to be that red outline minus the green square. So you can see me drawing those 5.5 inch green squares here, and I'm scribbling them out because they will be cut out. So I have 18.5 inches at the bottom and 8 inches on the side. Next, we're using that pattern that we just made, and we're gonna cut out all of our fabrics. So this, again, this is gonna be the outer fabric. So this is what you will see when it is up on the shelf. And using the same exact paper pattern, we're cutting out the lining piece. So this is a super simple project to do. So now that I have all my pieces cut out, I'm making 3 different bins. I'm showing you that I've already ironed on my interfacing, and you can definitely tell I use scrap pieces here. So I thought it was a fantastic way to get rid of a lot of scrap. So I've interfaced all of the lining fabric. And again, I probably would pick something thicker than what I used. But now I am just drawing on my seam allowances. I did this is completely optional, but I oftentimes will confuse myself. So I was like, hey, let me just draw on those seam allowances. So for these lining pieces, I'm using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm just drawing that all the way around. And after I finish drawing it all the way around, those top edges, those will be pressed to the wrong side just to help me in the sewing process. And here is my outer fabric, which I'm drawing on my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And again, the same thing, I will press those, what will be the top edges of the bin, so that way when we get to that step, it'll be a lot easier. So now in the corners, we're just lining up with right sides together, those corner edges, and we are going to pin them in place. And this is the lining piece that I'm holding here. So this one will be sewn at a 3/8 inch seam allowance, but you're going to do this for all 4 corners, and the same thing for the outer lining pieces, just remembering that you're going to have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on those outer pieces. And again, you're going to do this for each corner on both the lining and outer piece. Now that we've finished stitching all 4 corners, we're going to turn our outer lining right side out, and the inner lining you'll keep just the same, but you're going to tuck them in together and work to line those corners up. This was fairly easy, but yeah, just use your hands to make sure it's in there nice and snug. And once you get them all lined up, then we will go ahead and pin the top edge all the way around. And that top edge, your lining is going to be fold over a 3/8 inch, which we pressed earlier. And our outer lining is going to be folded down a 1/4 inch, which again, we pressed earlier before we started sewing. Now the very last step is to just add a top stitch all the way around. So I don't have a particular seam allowance here that I accounted for, but I really just put my needle as close to the top edge as I felt comfortable, just so I knew I was capturing both of those edges. But just take your time here, and yeah, you're just adding a top stitch all the way around, and that's pretty much it. So here's what it looks like all finished. I will say something I would like to add in the future is I'll probably seam rip that top stitch out and add some cardboard or some more heavy duty batting into the sides and into the bottom, just so these stand up a little straighter. But I am very happy with the way these turned out, especially considering that they were free. So here's what the TV stand looks like now that it's been completely decluttered. I am so much happier with the way that this looks. Now I can actually get in there and dust without having to rip everything out. But I think these came out super cute, and I'm very happy with them. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope it was clear and easy to understand so that you yourself can make some custom size storage bins. Overall, I mean, I made 3 of these, but one of them would probably take me about an hour to make. So roughly no time at all, but all 3 took me about 3 hours, and that included, you know, making the pattern piece as well. So, but if you guys enjoy this kind of content of like solving kind of everyday problems with the things that you have around the house, or maybe just minimal expense to you, let me know, and let me know if there's something that you would like me to try, or maybe you have a problem that you need help solving that maybe I can help you with. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.